doing here? You have two outstanding soldiers.
Yeah, oh my God. Sir, you are one of the stars. So we are also not in terms of rank, but in terms of age and seniority. They're sitting like that. The 74-year-old, the 73-year-old, and the 40-year-old,
72, and the young guy.
Yeah, and the young guy,
and the 21-year-old over there.
And the young guy. But this is the image that I would like all of us to reflect on, because this is what we have shown the world we can do in 90 hours. The 9 terror bases, the 11 air bases and military installations, a nation that tries to hyphenate itself with us has been shown its place. In reality, you must be very proud of what the Air Force has been able to do. 2008 में chance नहीं मिला, बालाकोट हुआ और जब्बार टॉप was just a very small one. Now the prowess of Bharat's military might is there for the world to see.
Even in 2001, we didn't get the chance after Parliament attack.
Yeah, 2001.
Actually, Anand, that time we were all ready. I was a group captain and we were in Ambala ready to saturate Pakistan with air raids, more than 300 combat sorties. One go, 2 hours window. I mean, this is off camera. And we were not allowed.
This is
2 hours before.
We are live right now.
We are live?
Yeah, we are live. Dekhiye, it's all on air. It's all there on live. Haan ji.
Oh my God. So that's another story.
You didn't say anything, I said it.
So you were ready in 2001 also, but that camp from where it all emanated since 2001 and even
so we were asked to hold off.
We were asked to hold off.
Let me compliment, sir, with your permission.
Ji.
So I was posted in Spain at that time when this standoff took place. And Spain, you know, they have this 6-month rotating presidency of the European Union. And I personally was summoned to the Foreign Office by them and told, don't do anything. The Europeans will get very offended. So there was a lot of pressure on us at that stage not to respond in a kinetic fashion. I believe a similar message was given to my counterpart in the United States also. Don't do anything. Those were different times. Sir, let me, if you give me a moment, I want to say something.
Ji.
You know, I'm a Sanatani. I mean, it's a different matter. My father was a Pathan and my mother from a Sikh family. But we are Sanatani Pashtuns. One of the things that I have learnt in my life is to read and reread the Ramayana. The core hero of the Ramayana in many ways is Bhagwan Shri Hanuman. He's very disappointed when he can't find Sita Ma. And at that point of time, the bear, Jambavan, comes and says, Apni taakat yaad kar, apna janoon yaad kar, apni atmanirbharta yaad kar. Sir, today Bharat is at a stage, and I say this with pride, sir. Whatever anybody, we are at a stage where we have a modern day Jambavan who has reminded our military of its strength, who has said, Apni taakat yaad karo. अपना जनून याद करो, अपनी आत्मनिर्भरता याद करो, remember your self-confidence, and these people have delivered. So I salute you, General Saab, I salute you, Marshal Saab.
Thank you, sir.
I'm an ordinary Indian. I speak on behalf of 140 crore people that Jambavan ने आज आपको बोला है, बता दो दुश्मन को.
ये जनरल साहब ने दीपक वोरा जी को पकड़ा था yesterday. He caught him right, saying that he will compliment everybody so that everybody compliments him back. So there is this mutual admiration society.
Lesson 1 in
and viewers, we had planned a very packed storyboard here to take you through over the course of the next 50 minutes. Some of it is perhaps going to be parked out of the window because we're getting some gems and some pearls. Now imagine Air Marshal saying, as a group captain in 2001, they were ready to punitively strike to respond to the parliament attacks, but Bharat was asked to hold off. Now that has changed now. Completely. Has that posture changed now that Bharat is not going to be told by anybody and Bharat is now going to do things based on what protects Bharat's strategic interests? Has that happened, General Pandey?
There are two things, you just discussed about sending a message in 90 hours to Pakistan by striking 9+11 targets and saturating it over just about a couple of days. What you have to understand is that the messaging is not for them only. The messaging is for the equipment of the Chinese which was deployed for this purpose. To tell them that your equipment has failed. Thank you so much. So is the saturation which was protected in terms of by using our own systems, by soft kill and hard kill, to the Turkish system which was deployed here. So number of systems have been failed by a combination of Russian indigenous systems and other systems, which is something very unique to have been achieved. And trust me, as a senior general officer who was participating in all these stuff, to even imagine and believe that such a swarm thing can be detected, controlled, destroyed before they hit us was something very, we were not very sure of it. So you please understand that it is not only the Air Force which was involved, it was the naval systems involved, the ground systems of Indian Army were involved. Starting from the smallest system, which is deployed on the LC and IB, were all being factored in, synchronized, synergized, and applied to defeat, and also to ensure that our systems hit across at will. So the messaging is of coming onto the stage of not only economic power, but also in the military equipment status power to the world. The second is that unlike what our handsome young 74-year-old diplomat is saying, this year, what I am given to understand is that everybody was pretty happy to sort out Pakistan.
Right.
It is not only about the stature of our country which has risen,
Right.
but it is also about how deeply in the cesspool Pakistan has fallen, right? Because now, come what may, everybody believes that that is a hub of terrorism, right?
So Pakistan is equal to terror state, rogue state.
Across
terror-
the world.
Across. Now, so then let's take this Air Marshal forward. That what you wanted to do in 2001 has been accomplished in 2025. Der aaya durust hai, many would say. Sometimes some would say a lot many more attacks may not have happened had there been a certain level of will and exercise then. But let's take the story forward. Today, Raksha Mantri ji says IMF bailout. The IMF needs to reconsider this.
Yes.
And there is a reason why he says that. Your thoughts, how does Bharat go about convincing IMF and these people who in the middle of a conflict where Pakistan is going up the escalation ladder, sign off on this 1.8 billion tranche of the $7 billion bailout? How does one do that? Because once the Raksha Mantri says this, it's corroborated what with the Pakistanis have done. We put out what Tanveer Hussain was saying, standing next to a LET terrorist. Those pictures are also there. Air Marshal, how does that happen? Let's take the story forward. What all does Bharat need to do next?
Anand, if you really ask me, Bharat has done it already by showing the collusion of Pakistani army with jihadi elements and them giving guard of honor, a kind of state funeral, and where all the generals and lieutenant generals are standing behind the coffins and putting the wreath which was put up by chief of army staff. What else you need? So basically, the kind of destruction which took place, it brought everything out. The nuclear cover was off, and so many other covers were off. The greater thing is that there's a very seasoned diplomat sitting with us. I expect that now the diplomacy plus the military, kind of insistence and pursuance will continue, and will like to teach lessons on two fronts. One is militarily, what bluff you were giving me, nuclear bluff, it's off. Boy, I'm not going to believe in that. I'm going to really hit you and hit you very hard. And how this happened, actually let me narrate that, because probably I'll do that better and leave that other question to the diplomat.
Not by leaving the difficult stuff to me.
Viewers, this is a privilege
so
to have an
basically-
Air Vice Marshal, to have a seasoned diplomat, and to have the former GOC 15 Corps with us in studio is a privilege. So I thank you again for doing that. So whatever you say is pearls of wisdom. So we'll listen. Yes, go ahead, please.
Anand, I would like to say we have seen a lot of visuals coming up, but I want to tell you, in today's world, one thing has changed, and that was we were fighting information warfare. It has become intelligentized warfare. And what do you do in that? There's all kinds of warfare, depends on tempo. You need OODA lab to be done very fast, on a very high tempo. Observe. For observations, you'll be happy to note that we had our own radars, our own satellites, our own space satellites, our own communication satellites, our own EM intelligence satellites, our own radar intelligence satellites. So you have that assets. That is your indigenous asset.
Right.
So that is the I part of it. All radars, lot of radars which are from Rajendra to Rohini to Ashlesa, so many of them. We had our own radars. We are doing that job. Okay, you got now observation. What do you do with orientation? How do you do with orient yourself to which target, who will fight for, like he said. So you had ISCCS and you had Akash Tir. These two systems together, when they integrated the information, we knew how the aerial targets are coming. When we knew how they are coming, the swarm we were able to handle. Because this system allocated to various things, whether they were Akik guns or Iglaes kind of missiles or man-portable air defense systems. So we engaged the target also economically. That's a very important part of it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't engage, I can't put in a BrahMos to catch a fly.
Correct.
So that's not the right thing. So we did economically, let nation know about it, that it was one thing which was done really smoothly. So you have this backbone, it is yours. The lesson which is good. And you have modified all these systems, even if there are others, you modified and you could dominate. Then you decide.
Yeah.
Decision boxes, command and control boxes, then you act through the command and control units. All were indigenous. Akash was indigenous. BrahMos is indigenous.
Yeah.
And we are not still talking about the strategic missiles we would like to know about. So basically, whole of the OODA loop, the tempo, which was very high when so many hundreds of drones came over, we were able to handle them. A lot of people bothered, like General defined, soft kills. Their own system. We know what to engage. If it can be killed softly, don't hit him otherwise. We know that. That's our Indian tradition too. And hard kill as much as you need to be killed.
As much
and now we have done successful experiment of Bhargav Astra also.
Yeah, Bhargav Astra.
Which is going to give out 64 micro rockets, missiles, not rockets, missiles. So they'll go and hit. So even if you bring a swarm of 1,000, we can really handle it. Another thing you'll be happy to note, for all our indigenous efforts, automation, this automation loop, there are three kinds of things. In one loop, we call it automation where man is within the loop. That is not possible these days because tempo is very high.
Right.
There's another loop where the man is outside, it can control whenever it wants to. It's called man can still respond in time. And the third is fully automated.
Yeah,
so for these things you need, we had that privilege of having our own. What I'm trying to bring out here, that for the whole of OODA loop, we had our own assets sitting, giving information, observing, orienting, deciding and acting in a tempo of war. Which is very, very, what we call Atmanirbharta. It came out in the open to show, this is what is Atmanirbharta. You defend and offend yourself. So there are two spectrums of air ops, defensive and offensive. We didn't lose any life.
We didn't lose any life.
We didn't lose any life.
That is phenomenal. I think somewhere it spoiled the Bharatiya people. So that whenever there is an operation, we should not lose anything.
That
doesn't happen in
Anand, let me come to your point. That was a very great question.
Ji.
How do you bring now Pakistan, stop its funding, which is most of it is narco funding?
Yeah.
I think Vora sir will agree with me. Most of it is through drugs. Most of it is through, hiring their own people as mercenaries.
Right.
Whether you become Chinese appendix or you become whatever, Turkey appendix from where you get. So you have to bring out in light one thing very clearly. Is international community ready for action against global terror? If that is so, why don't you hit the schools or the markaz, what they call centers of such, where they create these things, where Pakistani army and the jihadi, I call it a core.
Yeah.
General will probably agree with me. It's a core in civil uniform. What job they don't do, they give it to them.
Yeah.
So, but they lost the flavor of. I would respect a Pakistani soldier like we respect our own selves. It's a fight between two equals. But now when I see, because of this trend and tradition, they're hollowed out. They can only hit people who are without arms, who cannot defend.
Yeah.
But the moment you start defending and attacking, they found themselves helpless. Yeah. And that's what you see on the platter.
There are a bunch of cowards. That's one part. The other thing is this, the whole thing is that they are not even there. They are a small speck or a mosquito that we've decided 90 hours we can flick you off. That's point. The conversation forward, Ambassador Deepak Vora, is how does Bharat now assert itself in the international community, starting with IMF. The next one is the UNSA. I'll come to that also. But yes.
Now, the IMF system, sir, you understand what it is. There's no negative vote. We have an abstention, which is what we did. The only country that could have said no, which has that level of voting power, is the United States, for reasons that you understand better than I do. They have decided to go ahead with this because they didn't want to humiliate Pakistan any more than the military humiliation that our brave soldiers had played. As far as what do we do with the international community? First, the international community, I guess, means the big fellows. Sir, there is an immediacy of interest. For example, Pakistan is of immediate interest to me it's not of immediate interest to Burkina Faso
Right.
or to Chad or to Argentina. Because they don't get affected, they don't get impacted in the same way that I do. Afghanistan does, Iran does. So it's the immediate neighborhood that is concerned. One of the countries most affected by terrorism, where I've served, Burkina Faso, we don't really even know what is happening there. That the ISIS fellows are running around, Al-Qaeda is running around. Well, what has happened to Pakistan, and thanks to media like you, the whole world saw that announcement that a certain Osama, son of Laden, was killed in Pakistan. So that stays in the mind. And when I talk to my African friends, they say, oh, yeah, of course, they got him in Pakistan, didn't they? I said, yes, they did. And so, what's he doing there? I said, all right, I'll tell you what he was doing. Now, these idiots, I could use stronger language. Idiot is a very mild thing as far as I'm concerned. These idiots across the border don't understand, sir, this is the age of nanosecond information transfers, and it stays with us. The American president goes on television to say, we've clobbered this guy. Another president goes and says, we got Ayman al-Zawahiri, we had dispatched him. Somebody else says, I've done this, I've done this. This collectively convinces the mind. It stays in the mind that, look, these guys I can't trust. So, more than anything that we can do, and of course we will do it, Pakistan itself is damaging its reputation. They are on suicide road, sir. These guys don't understand.
Right.
So, let me complete, sir.
जी.
And what you're seeing in Europe today, आप देख रहे हैं, Britain में भी, France में भी, इधर में, बहुत से लोग कहते हैं, in my own group, we have this close group of friends, diplomats, soldiers, journalists, teachers, academics, politicians. They're all saying that we are beginning to now understand that if we have what they call it grooming in England, or a
grooming
terror
gangs and
attack
all of
here,
that.
or a terror attack, all the cables go back to Pakistan. So it's really auto-destruct. Of course, we'll facilitate the process and we'll carry on this message. When the parliament attack took place, sir, let me assure you, we were sharing information on a real-time basis with our host governments. We don't just sit back and enjoy parties. We were right there and we were briefing them. They were understanding what we were doing, but they did also tell us, don't escalate the thing. Today, the qualitative difference, I've been 52 years in diplomacy and counting. The qualitative difference today is we will not listen to them. We'll do what we think is in our interest. That message has gone not just to Atankistan, it has gone across the world. One of the African countries where I'm privileged to be special advisor, in fact one official and one minister, actually called and said, Mr. Ambassador, tell us more about the BrahMos. Now they are interested. Yes. One of the spin-off benefits.
Correct. That's the military-industrial complex, and Bharat is asserting itself there. And there will be many, General Pandey, who will be watching this very carefully, and they will not be very happy about it.
Anand, I just take a minute on this.
Please take it on.
The problem in stopping IMF is this. It is controlled not by the American political leadership. It's controlled by the deep state.
Deep state,
right? This money will go to two people. It will go to the military-industrial complex. It is small amount, but this small amount is actually going to go back to
America.
Complex to America, which will get food on the table, jobs to people. Right. So as long as India starts thinking that morality is an issue in the international affairs, it may be in good talks. They may, look and smile at you. But the bottom line is there are other interests, right? That is how international affairs is. Deepak ji, he's a senior gentleman. He'll know it far better than me. One is that. The second is the terror network is also not only of Pakistan, right? It is also has got linkages which have got a different orientation, right? These are all tools to be kept, into the storage for a period of time when to come. So you imagine the tranche has been issued and straight away the government of Pakistan has announced 14 crores will go to one bunch of Jamaat, I think, Jaish-e-Mohammed or something. So when the system is so designed and corrupted internationally, somewhere we have to find a Bharat way to deal with it. We need to continue to deal with it. But if you're going to think that Trump or Britain or anybody else is going to come to our aid and bat for us, I think we are sadly mistaken, because they are not willing to bat for themselves. When grooming gangs are doing things which are quite even unknown, unheard for us, and it has become an acceptable norm to the British government and their courts, right? They have been letting them off by saying that it's a cultural issue with the Pakistanis and therefore why should we punish them?
Right.
So, 13, 14, 15-year-old girls, British white girls are being raped. But it has become acceptable norm on the cultural facet. So, how do you think they are going to come and look at you? Okay, you're getting...
let's take the other issue also and then deliberate on this, saying let's try and identify solution. One cannot allow the world to say, oh, that's a rogue state, so let's
So what
fait
can I
accompli. What can I do? That's an eternal begging bowl, nation with a begging bowl, so what can I do? So it cannot be the case. Now let's marry this with the proposed FATF blacklisting or putting them back in the grey list. That's one point. The other thing is also TRF. Now if a nation as rogue as Pakistan has lost all credibility, how was it able to get the name of TRF out of that statement in the UN?
Because they are non-permanent members. And if one of the non-permanent or permanent members opposes it, it has to be by consensus. So that fellow, that buffoon who pretends to be their foreign minister, himself acknowledged that many capitals were calling him, and I said, nothing doing. I will not do it till you remove the name. He's exposing himself, sir. We have taken it up. I have fellows sitting there in New York right at this time. They are talking and saying, look at this guy saying that I did it because I didn't want them to be named. Now the whole world is saying, oh, sorry, we got conned. You didn't get conned. It's just that one person says no, it doesn't. It's not. It has to be unanimity.
So, but in this case, the TRF has to be hyphenated with the Lashkar. So there is
it is Lashkar.
It is an offshoot.
When I say hyphenated,
The problem is that our own media, our own people in our official briefings, we have started calling it TRF. The rationale of naming TRF is to give some degree of credibility for Western sensibility. When you say Lashkar-e-Taiba, it becomes slightly Islamic.
Correct.
The moment you say resistance, it echoes with the Western sensibility of large number of countries. There is a resistance movement which is ongoing in India, right? That is a smart move. Shifting the name was one part, but the second smart move is this: it resonates, right? It gives a certain degree of symbolism, sympathetic assurance, and all. So that is one part. The issue which you are harping is, or you are getting on to is, that how do we stop? They say there is a begging bowl. The problem is that the issue which is being created in Pakistan, the entire lines of operation and connections go back to the West, right? They were the ones who have been funding it as bluntly, overtly, as a tool of policy, right, in the region. And then they looked away when it started getting applied on India because they don't care about us, right? So as long as the brown man knows they don't care, that is how you'll start looking for solutions. So we need to keep on recording. We need to bring in talk about
the conversation is between the three of you gentlemen.
Anand, one more thing is there. We have to remember how whole thing started, because ISI came from the womb of CIA.
Correct.
And it's CIA is mother of ISI. And then ISI is the one which nurtured, cultured all these various arms. As they came under focus, they changed their names, and they were the same things. And they provided shelter, they provided worship, hero worship, and they also provided, you go to any Pakistani now and you see a poor Pakistani, he normally wants to, he tells his son to become jihadi, because that's something to be proud of.
And
he's fighting
money.
for Allah and get money. So basically, if we want to, so what was making this happen? It was happening through the financial route. That means you have to cut the funding in one way. Then it developed its own funding mechanism, like a cancer. So essentially, it got into narco and drug kind of traffic, and they become they got narco money. So now, when after 9/11, some sensibility came into the global community, and the way they spread into Europe, and Islamization started taking place, and not the kind of Islamization we normally tend to believe in India, because we have different kind of fraternity with us, Muslim fraternity, a different kind of. Then they realize the impact of it. The basic idea is expose them, keep exposing them, and do not lose your heart. Because nuclear cover was a great thing. We do anything, nobody will come and hit us. And keep hitting. It's a continuous process. It's like a cancer. When you remove a cancer, you do surgery. Maybe we've done the surgery now, but chemotherapy has to continue.
Radiation has to continue.
Radiation has to continue, and then targeted therapy has to continue. So as today Defence Minister said, probably I don't know in what context he said, that it's something which is on probation. The peace is on, the truce is on probation. Probation means we'll see and verify how you go, then we'll confirm, oh yes, it's a kind of peace. Because the kind of, I mean, if you have a muhajir, first thing muhajir, I have Imam's son who's known as Hafiz-e-Quran, means he's memorized Quran in the way he's, and sitting as a soldier, and when he was giving a kind of talk to his troops, he said, you are fighting for deen. Armed forces generally agree with me, armed forces, we fight for the flag, we fight for the country. Religion is part of us, personal part of us. But when we stand up and do, this is what the morality is all about, but it is tattered. So now your question is, in this kind of situation where everything, the fabric of morality is totally torn, and torn is one thing, but acceptable to the whole global community, what do? They're still funding them. So we have to keep talking about it, like people keep talking, and our diplomats will keep harping about it. It will make a difference. It will make a difference. I'm promising to you.
Over a period of time, Air Marshal is so right that ultimately, pani boon boon karta hai to patthar pe bhi nishan pad jata hai. They begin to understand. So what we are seeing now happen, General Saab, that the Baloch are going to declare independence if they haven't already done so in 1 or 2 days. They'll set up a Baloch government in exile. My own feeling is that government will be set up in Kabul. Because the Afghans also, the Taliban cordially detest the Pakistanis. Now once that government in exile comes, people will sit up around the world, and I know this is going to happen in New York, 193 members of the United Nations. They're going to say, what on earth, who's this new kid on the block? People will talk about it, and so there have been instances, I mean, I know I was ambassador in South Sudan, where recognition came. Membership did come, but then they officially seceded, and they were recognized, and now they are in all kinds of international agencies. What the Baloch are going to do, and I say this with some knowledge, they are going to start joining various international organizations which are maybe within or outside the UN system. Observer status, this, that, and the. If that happens, then the next will be Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So sir, all these years, हमने बोला है General साहब कि Pakistan की stability is very important for us. Arrant nonsense. Pakistan will not disappear as a country, as a geographical. कहाँ जाएगा? But टुकड़े जब हो जाते हैं ना sir, फिर उसकी ताकत, the strength then is drained out of their military. Because what bothers us, and Marshal, you might agree, what bothers me is the Pakistani military, which has created a jihadi mindset amongst the people of Pakistan. So if these guys go, they engage with them. Have you heard that expression? Some of our jokers within the country have said, engage with Pakistan. Sir, please buy an engagement ring and send it to those guys, saying we are going to engage with you characters. Nothing. It hasn't helped us in 78 years. It's not going to help us in the next 780 years. They are not going to change. So the answer, sir, is the breakup. They'll continue to exist as a geographical entity, but it will not be one Atankistan. It'll be, and this is happening.
So see, here is the thing, gentlemen. Now, if we talk about this, we'll get. I'm hoping we'll get Mehran Murray also. Then we'll take the Baloch conversation forward with him also on board. But General Saab, here is the thing: Pakistan has nuclear assets. Today, the Raksha Mantri has said another thing. He said the IAEA or the world needs to take the nuclear assets of Pakistan under its control, because otherwise it will go, it's a rogue state, it will go to the jihadi or these tanzeems. Last evening when we were conversing and we ended on this point, you said nations like Iran, nations like North Korea, they all are supposedly not supposed to have nuclear weapons. They, weapons of mass destruction. Iraq got ruined on this ground of weapons of which were never found a decade and a half later. But when sanctions can be imposed and punitive action can be taken against nations that are just experimenting to try and have nuclear technology capabilities, here you have a rogue state which is home to 300 jihadi tanzeems.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying yesterday was about the duality of the deep state or the West has been that if your hound is running with me, is my hound, and if there is a hound which is standing by, okay, we can shoot at it. So Iran virtually may be running a campaign against Israel, or there are challenges on Shia and Sunni fabric and his attempt to come up as a very important Islamic nation. The problem is that there you are running on to sanction to ensure that they are not able to enrich uranium so that they can make a credible nuclear system or bombs.
Right.
Right. On here you got a person when you know that this country today, and especially in last 10 days what has happened is very evidently that Pakistan used to be having proxies of terrorists.
Right.
But the response which Pakistanis did,
Yeah.
when we hit only the terror camps, number of things have showcased that the terrorists have taken Pakistan army as their proxy.
Yeah.
Right. Look at the switch. You know, you hit terror camps and Pakistan army is responding, not the terrorists. So while, okay, I understand terrorist doesn't have to respond, but you can't have a 3-star and 2-star and 1-star coming for a state funeral service. Second
Uske
is,
damad hai sir, why can't you come?
no, they must come, but then you know, you can't fight a war on a nation's army fights for its nation. It doesn't fight for terrorists, right?
Is that the single proof that they are also mujahids or soldiers, like Air Marshal was saying?
Yeah, so you know,
The non-uniform soldier.
You know, sorry,
Ji.
let Jen Sahab go ahead, sorry.
So, you know, when you put a terrorist onto a flag of Pakistan, right? Whereas when your 35 to 40 people have died,
Yeah.
we have not seen that kind of reception of their bodies, you know, Pakistani soldiers' body or that officer who's died, to be given similar treatment, right, anywhere in the Pakistan media, is an indicative that the value of a terrorist or mujahid, if you may call, is much higher than a soldier.
The value of a jihadi is higher than a soldier in uniform. One that
Yeah,
is decided
right.
to serve
The
the country,
second is-
and the other one is for fighting for some convoluted
Second is that
aspect of religion.
when you carry out doing religious service, right, for those people, it is also an indicator. So, you know, response, you are willing to destroy a country, you are willing to go to war because the terrorist camps have been hit. These are very, very big signals to the Western world, should be a great signal.
But is the Western world actually reading these signals, or are
they
they just
need-
saying, all right, they're
I
there,
so
we
much
know.
agree with
well,
General. I
this is-
so much agree with General, because imagine we hit the terrorist camps, and who died we didn't know, because we don't count, as Air Marshal said in our
Yeah.
briefing. We hit the target, we don't count body
The
bags.
body bags, yeah.
But we also hit the hangars.
Yeah.
We also hit Bholari hangar, where the AWACS has
AWACS,
come
yeah. The
and
former,
was just
Air
entered
Marshal's
into the
confirmed
hangar.
over Pakistani
So
state
any
government.
such hangars which we hit, I can tell you from the experience, we at least had 3 to 4 officers and minimum 50 to 60 airmen. What happened to their funeral? What happened to their bodies? Where was the state honor given to them?
No.
They are the soldiers. But now, as General said, I also tend to agree with him ki they are the main fighters and these are proxies. Now, Pakistani Army Air Force has become a proxy to jihadi.
Now you
proxies
add-
to the
now,
jihadis.
Now you add the color. 16th April, the Mullah Amir, I have never wanted to say, but you have forced
Mad
me.
Mullah Muniria.
You have forced me to say, sir, I am much more of a diplomat being a military professional.
I'm a
And you are
straightforward
much more-
diplomat.
You are much
Your
more a-
process,
you
you're
are
a military
much-
diplomat.
much
These
more
are
a
those
military.
pictures, yeah.
There you are. There's the Mad Mullah Muniria.
Anand, we need to,
Ji.
I think, take this message home and we need to talk about it. That when 16th April, this Mullah Munir makes a statement of a radical nature for his army. And when you look at his deception, deviousness, he talks of himself as a devious, or what do you call, those kind of a nomenclature for himself.
Deceiver.
When you have got such a person who's controlling a country, the levers of nuclear instruments are held very lightly.
Yeah.
And that is where it's very dangerous. When a radical mind is at work and he knows that his system is in danger, and to prove that he is a great Muslim, right? When he is telling everybody else to die for that imagined heaven, he is himself capable of taking that step of doing something to destroy his own country.
Yeah, but
And
you know, but you know what? There is a. It seems to be a misnomer, a put on. What General Munir is saying. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Pak Army Chief, but there is no love lost there. On the one hand, he's quoting and trying to draw this entire line where he's colored the entire nation's army into religion and talking about deen and not nation. On the other hand, he is nicknamed within this army in his entire circle as Chachu Whiskey, because after 8 p.m. the things don't function without a Patiala in hand, or that he loves his liquor. That's the story. So this is a hypocrite on both ends, on either side. So however and whoever General Munir is left to it. But if this is the hypocrisy or the duality of the person who's in the helm of or controlling or is in the steering, has the steering of Pakistan, of an entire nation in his hand, when he was driving his Prime Minister also on that cantonment pictures, on that entire charade, then why is it not the world saying this is alarming? If we were to even take Marco Rubio's statement or position that there was an alarming escalation that was around the corner and that's why we needed both nations to de-escalate, what has been done post that? Why is there not merit in Bharat saying seize their nuclear assets or seize control of their nuclear assets?
Anand, can I give the military answer, then he'll give the diplomatic answer. The military answer is, and I'm telling you, this is my firm belief and my understanding and my overall 50 years I have been in this business only. The electronics inside all the 130, 140, 160, whatever they claim, in strategic weapons is Western in nature. Software is Western in nature. And we stopped using Chinese, any electronics in our own public sector undertaking through NSA's directive about a decade and a half back. The reason is, if I have access to that, I can have a time clock running, which with a pulse, because you'll need some navigation, I can switch it off. So, I firmly believe all the assets are hugely contained, controlled. Even if fire, nothing will move. This is also one of the, somebody can say it's overconfidence. It's not going to happen. So, if you control something, you know that it is there and it can't fly without your permission. It is there. And the weapon platform is also theirs.
So you're saying the West, even though the Pakistanis may have the nukes or they may have the strategic weapons?
It is under their oversight in one way or another, unless you bring in the overt oversight of IAEA.
General, Ambassador.
Sir, talking about taking out...
I hope so. What you're saying is right.
I'm telling you, I have said this before the conflict. I'm saying it now through your channel.
You're saying it again.
If you look at Mad Mullah Munir, he doesn't have a beard, does he?
No,
that's because if you drink whiskey with a beard, it becomes very difficult and people say, Mullah ko dekho, wo sharab pi raha hai. So there he probably pretends to be Christian or whatever when he drinks. Sir, why would anybody want...
He's very secular, sir.
He's secular.
Secular.
Right. So this guy, these fellows, why would anybody want to take out its nuke? Who is threatened by Pakistan's nuclear arsenal? I am and Israel is. 40 years ago, there was talk of United States, Israel and India taking out the Kahuta nonsense that they were up to. It didn't happen for various reasons. In fact, it's been written about by some Israeli experts. I've spoken to some people. Nahi hua to nahi hua. Now, we are in a situation where who else is threatened? Trump has gone and told the Iranians, you guys make a bomb and I'll clobber you. Now you go, oh my darling, do what you want as long as I get a business deal. He's doing that with the Saudis, he's doing that with everybody. So he is, we all know, transactional, but yet he represents the most powerful country in the world in terms of military, economy and knowledge. So the opinion at this point of time in a fellow like Trump, you remember there used to be this dictator of a country called Nicaragua. His name was that Indian snack, samosa. The fellow's name was, his name was Anastasio Samosa. So somebody went and told Ronald Reagan, I think at that time, sorry?
You're the youngest.
So he went and told this character that Ronald Reagan, this guy is misbehaving. He's an absolute son of a bitch. Ronald Reagan's response was, I know, but at least he's our son of a bitch. So as far as the Pakistanis are concerned, they'll do our bidding. I believe now we have gone in for a concerted effort, sir. You've talked about the FATF. FATF have 3 countries. That's going to be China, Malaysia and Turkey who are members. They get together and say no, then he doesn't get into the grey list. Unless there are other reasons to the contrary. That's the sword of Damocles that the Americans are going to hold over his head. Do my bidding or else. I think that now we are at a stage where the world understands, and this is a tribute to our diplomacy and of course on the ground to the military, that we brought the message across that the existence of this country in its present state is a threat to mankind.
Right. Okay, Mehran Murray is not joined us, but Mr. Mustakhan is also back with us. So MRG, thank you. Good to have you back with us. We're talking about Balochistan and we're talking about what next for Bharat. One of the things that Manoj Kumar Gupta, our investigations editor, group editor, has also got is that like in 99, like after Nawab Bukti's death, like after Jabbar Top happened or the Balakot operations happened, or after the Mach massacre, there is going to be a renewed thrust of Baloch ostracization and Baloch, towards the Baloch. They are going to, the Pak army is going to now, to take away from the humiliation that they've got on Operation Sindoor, they may go back to the Baloch regions and start cleaning them. The ethnic cleansing will start. The persecution will start. The entire, so there is huge inputs that Asim Munir is going to unleash a huge amount of wrath, military wrath or Dahshatgardi in Wardi on the Baloch people. So on the other side, the Baloch are turning around and saying Bharat should actually help and support an idea of Balochistan. So where do things happen? Aman Mustakar, I want to ask you this. Are the various tribes, the Maris, the Buktis, the Baloch, are they all coming together?
My kind sir, today the movement in Balochistan is in the hands of the lower middle class and the middle classes. This is, society does not remain frozen. What you are thinking about is from 4 decades ago. Of course, the tribal leaders have some influence, but it is not that game today. The Baloch Liberation Front, the Baloch Liberation Army, they are in the hands of our youths who belong to the middle classes. Of course, we, as I said, the notables have a role and we have some respect for them, but it's not in that sense, sir. It's a totally changed game there. You know what, they were trying to organize a festivity in Quetta, and if you look at their faces, they were so shit scared. They were they're so shit scared. Just look at their faces. This Sarfaraz Bhatti, who is their ISI stooge there, they imposed him over there through a fake election. And I heard you again and again talk about the tribal factor. It's a little important. It's not the defining feature today in Balochistan. The Operation Hero by the Baloch Liberation Army is in full swing. And as I repeatedly have said, please, I will request the Babus in Delhi not to sit over our request for another 10 years. It is a matter of our survival. It's a matter of your progress.
So, MR साहब एक काम करते हैं, because we have a diplomat who served, who's got more than 52 years of and counting diplomatic service. So let me ask you, why has Bharat deterred, or what is this Balochistan conundrum? I am pinching the title of Tilak Devasharji's book to outline.
So
please
what do you
explain.
want, sir? ये तो इतना आसान नहीं होता in international relations that you immediately go and recognize a country.
But
first, let me
we
put
have
it to
not
our
done
Baloch friends, sir. And this I say from the heart. Balochistan, Ajodi. You understand what I'm saying. Victory and freedom to Balochistan. First, a government in exile. I know that you are planning this. I know that the first Indian, General Saab, the first Indian independence movement, government in exile, was formed in Kabul. And during the First World War.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money. Raja Vishwanath, they didn't have the money. The emirs of Afghanistan funded them. You have, first, the government in exile, like the Tibetans have. Once you have that, then the next step would be recognition, joining the appendages of the international system, whether the United Nations or the World Bank or whatever, international organizations. Right. Start doing that, and then the movement gathers strength. Simply saying that Bharat should recognize us, and then do what, sir? Because others will come and tell us, you know, this, we have to be sensitive to the opinions of other countries also. This is never taken as an independent decision.
Right.
You consult with friends. What about this? So if 4, 5, 6, 7 get together and say, let's do it, why would they do it is a different question. You have the Iranian issue also, sir, the Sistan, Balochistan. They are going to get very upset about whatever is the next steps that we take. You know, Donald Trump has just kissed and made up with the Iranians also. So I believe, sir, that Our hearts are with you, but this is an international issue that we have to move progressively, step by step.
Okay, let me ask this to General Pandey and also Air Marshal, and then I'll come back to you, Deepak Gora ji, along with MR Mustakan. If Bharat can support Tibet, if Bharat can give Sharan, or if I say asylum to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if Bharat can take a position there, why didn't Bharat take a position? And if Bharat has a very clear position with Jammu and Kashmir and POJK, why is Bharat not taking a position with Balochistan? Your understanding.
So, while I agree with what, and I need to agree because he is much more senior and experienced on the subject, but let...
मेरी पिटाई हो रही है आज.
नहीं, such है sir, but let me bat on the side of the Baloch. I think there comes a time of a critical moment,
Yes.
right, that we need to support our friends. Somewhere our country has always lagged in supporting our friends because the concerns which will happen, and Deepak ji has just highlighted the concerns with Iran, with this and that and everything. But please understand that Iranians, when they take a decision, they don't look at your concerns, right? So everybody takes this thing. I feel that there is a cultural connection, there is an ethnic connection. You know, I don't want to get into the details of it, but I know Baloch, and they are totally on with me on my couple of DMs. I get messages in the night and day that General Saab kuch karo. But unfortunately, I am not in the system. But the fact is that through your medium, I am quite clear that this is the time to show not a maturity, sagacity of having become a country on high table. We are not 10 years, 15 years behind. We have got the diplomatic heft. We are surely having an economic heft. We may not be able to support militarily, but at least morally, because unfortunately, like everything else, they are beyond our land or a sea connect route. So the only connection which comes to us, to Balochistan, truly comes from Afghanistan. And I'm not talking about
just 2 more minutes, Deepak. 2 more.
Of any other issues, but what I'm looking at is that we need to possibly support. This is a very unique moment, movement. This movement is being led by women. In an Islamic world, it is totally unknown. It's a forward society, it is a mature society, it is unlike the Pak Punjabi society, which will actually drag women and hit them and brutalize them, rape them, convert them.
Thank you for paying a compliment to the Punjabis. Thank you very much.
No, I'm just saying that this is the reality. You please read the history of Balochis. It is something very, very unique. Their cry of passionate reach out, not only and essentially to India.
So is Bharat now at that threshold?
Yes.
Quickly, because Ambassador Saab has to leave, and then we'll
We are
continue
at
the
the
conversation.
crossroads.
Yeah.
Now a decision will be taken. These jokers were giving moral and diplomatic support to the Kashmiri terrorists. Thank you very much. We might take a leaf out of your book. You taught us. You taught us this term, moral and diplomatic. We might just do that. But to our Baloch friend, we tell you, sir, as General Saab, one of our most senior, highly decorated officers, and the Air Marshal have said, our hearts are with you. Now it's a question of working out the modalities, how the support that we are giving you from our heart translates into support on the ground. Sir, there's no doubt that you will be free. You will get your independence. And if this Munaria, this mad mullah tries to do funny things over there, he'll get hit like a ton of bricks. The human rights fellows will catch hold of him. I said, why don't you drag him before the International Criminal Court, that one of you file a complaint of genocide against this fool? He'll come to his senses, sir. There are enough people who will support you.
I think the international Baloch community also needs to organize that everybody,
That's right.
I think the Baloch themselves have to now think that they have to come together. They do come every year at Geneva to talk about the number of missing persons. There are huge, Mama Kadir Baloch is there at the front trying to push out and put out this data. So all of that, MR Mustakan, coming to you, but General Saab talked about the cultural connect. Ambassador Deepak Gora has to leave, but I'll request you to just spare these 2 minutes to listen to this that we've put together, this connect, and then we can move forward and Ambassador Saab can decide if he has 5 more minutes of his time with us. His time is very precious and a lot of people need him, but we've just held him back here. Now, two of the most revered Hindu shrines, Hinglaj Mata Temple and the Katasraj Temple, they lie deep within the rugged landscapes of Balochistan, a region now witnessing a renewed push for independence from Pakistan. We'll try and put those pictures also. As Baloch rebels intensify their armed struggle and declare Balochistan an independent nation, 2 ancient temples in the region are drawing renewed attention for their cultural and historical ties to India. Hinglaj Mata Temple, located in the Lasbela district of Balochistan, is one of the 51 Shakti Peeths of Hinduism, known as the Hinglaj Shakti Peeth. It holds great significance as it is believed that this is a site where Sati Mata's head fell, according to Hindu Itihasa. I won't even say mythology, it is Itihasa. Similarly, the Katasraj Shiva Temple in Chakwal, Punjab province of Pakistan is a historic site almost inaccessible to Hindus due to India-Pakistan tensions. The ancient Hindu temple dedicated to Lord Shiva features a holy lake known as the Kataskund, believed to be formed from the tears flowing out of Lord Shiva during his mourning for Sati. Now, historically, the Katasraj temple was a prominent center of Hindu education and philosophy, believed to have been visited by the Pandavas during their exile and associated with the teachings of Adi Shankaracharya, and its architecture reflects a blend of Hindu-Buddhist styles, and though worship at the temple has declined post-partition, it remains a significant pilgrimage site for Hindus in Pakistan. There is another thing. There is a Baloch-Maratha connect. 1760, the Marathas defeated in the Battle of Panipat. 22,000 were taken captive, 22,000 forced to march to Dera Bukti in Balochistan. 22,000 were divided into the Bukti, Marri, Gurshani, Mazari and the Raisani groups. Inculcated Marathi culture in Balochistan. And also the Maratha subcaste, part of the Baloch tribes, subcaste of the Buktis, is named after Chhatrapati Shivaji's grandson Shahu Maharaj. Baloch Marathas have surname Peshwani. Marathi words and dishes are part of Baloch culture. Ai is mother in Marathi, is mother in Baloch also. So, Eman Mustikar, there is so much that connects. All of this needs to be highlighted to the world.
Even Karachi, right? Even Karachi in 47 was a Baloch majority city. My parents always very fondly spoke about the Hindu who were in Karachi. Highly educated, cultured, very decent people. I desire that the Hindu temple bells may ring all over Balochistan, side by side, wherever there is a namaz, azan. We are not this framework, Churchillian mindset of dividing people on the basis of religion. This is Asim Munir, is the bastard son of Muhammad bin Qasim.
Let's try. Okay, let's try and control our vocabulary, please. We are on national television. Yeah, please.
No, no, sir.
I know your sentiment, sir, but we have to exercise certain caution. Ji.
Well,
please complete. Please complete.
You guys always show decency. Always you show decency, so they were going to do this. Please don't be so decent. I understand you are a land of yogis, you are land of rishis, you are land of yamis. I know your values, high values.
Sir, we are also the land of Ram. We are also the land of Parshuram. So that is not forgotten, sir. That is not forgotten. I have run out of time. I thank all of you. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll take this conversation forward. Here is the assurance that the Bharat Baloch Connect will be further underlined, established here on the right stand. Time we as Bharat and Bharatiya take the right stand for the Baloch. Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaste, Jai Hind. Thank you so much to everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Co-presented by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Situation in Balochistan seems to be spiraling out of control. There's a major crackdown by the Pakistani army is what we're learning. Internet and electricity have been shut down. There are new counter-insurgency operations that have started. This after the Pakistani army had to face the wrath of the Indian army, the attacks on Pakistani military bases by Indian side. Operation Sindoor has all rattled Pakistani army, which is now prompting them to target Baloch activists, Baloch leaders in Balochistan. Top Baloch sources have now told CNN News 18 that Pakistan military, after its defeat from India in Operation Sindoor, is escalating its excesses, is shifting focus from the eastern border to Balochistan now. These are the same tactics that we had seen in the past as well. This was done right after the 1999 Kargil war, post Balakot in 2019. After India's airstrikes, we had seen how the Pakistani army, in an attempt to redeem itself, had shifted its focus, tried to hit back at unarmed activists, at civilians in Balochistan. Remember, enforced disappearances in Balochistan, Army's excesses in Balochistan have been making headlines for decades together. Now it looks like the Pakistani army is repeating that particular pattern after its loss, after the kind of defeat it had to face after Operation Sindoor by India. We are getting you more voices from Balochistan to give us more details of what exactly is transpiring there, what the situation looks like. But for long, the Balochi people have been standing up against the civilian government in Pakistan, as well as the military establishment. The Pakistani military has been accused of excesses in Balochistan, of enforced disappearances as well. Now it looks like to try and redeem itself from what happened after Operation Sindoor, Pakistani army is shifting its focus back to Balochistan. Anand, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Anand, what more can you tell us? What exactly is happening in Balochistan?
Well, Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these assessments, even as there are many Baloch leaders who are turning towards Bharat and say that there is a Bharat-Baloch connection and that Bharat should openly support any movement by the Baloch to break free from what the Baloch claim to be forced occupancy of their lands, their territory, their minerals, their resources by the Pakistani army since 1948. The Baloch struggle is a long one, nearly 7 decades now. But now, right now, the immediate assessment is that the Pakistani army is now going to turn on to the Baloch and to try and mount a massive, what they would call a counter-insurgency move to break hell upon and unleash wrath upon the people of Balochistan, to try and somewhere gloss over the humiliation that they have faced because of the decimation that Pakistan has faced at the hands of Bharat. Now, and to try and salvage and divert the attention again. So, if a Pahalgam massacre was a distraction from the Baloch problem and what happened with the Jafar Express issue, now again, because of the decimation of their air bases and also these entire terror tanzeem's headquarters at the hands of Bharat in 90 hours, Pakistan was brought to heel and brought to its knees by the Bharatiya Armed Forces. They will turn towards the Baloch people. Why? There is a history to this. In 1999, post the Kargil conflict, there was unprecedented amount of military barbarism, dehshatgardi by the Wardi, the Pakistani Wardi, on the Baloch people, and that is documented. And that was to try and tide over the humiliation of the Kargil conflict and again to try and say that we are just countering insurgents. Then again, in the case of in 2006, when Bukti had died, after that also they tried to blame it on the Baloch groups, and once again a huge counterinsurgency was unleashed, and people, there are pictures which CNN News 18 has put out in the past where there are helicopters who are actually firing at innocent people on ground. They are using helicopters to fire and kill, mass killings. So genocides in Balochistan is something which anybody who walks into Geneva today and sees the Baloch people are still protesting, but their eyes, their cries have fallen on deaf ears, and that's why they have been turning to Bharat for support, at least diplomatic, and to voice a support for the Baloch people. Again, after 2006, post the Jabbar top strikes by Bharat in and around the Balakot region, again there was a huge unleashing of military mayhem on the Baloch people by the Pakistani army. And this is again exactly what many experts are saying, that this could happen with the Baloch people immediately, because Balochistan has been facing a huge amount of civil unrest, and also in the last 1.5 years, the Baloch Liberation Army seems to have been really running the Pakistani army to various corners, and running and hiding for cover. They have taken over cities. After what they did with the Jafar Express, the Pakistan military had been shamed nationally and globally. Asim Munir has been heaped shame upon shame by the Baloch and then by Bharat. So now again, they are moving the troops to the eastern borders again, from the eastern borders towards the west and into Balochistan. And they believe that there will be another unleashing of hell on the Baloch people, atrocities, mass killings, and trying to wipe out ancient tribes and forcing Baloch to flee towards Afghanistan from the ancient land so that they can clear all these lands for the military to take control and somewhere even facilitate the Chinese in trying to get there and also take away the mineral resources, the rare earth minerals which the Chinese are brazenly mining.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. As the dust settles on Operation Sindoor, the extent of damage that India has inflicted on Pakistan is beginning to come to light. What is clear is that Pakistani air defenses, particularly the Chinese air defenses HQ-9, were breached in a significant way. There was extensive damage to Pakistani air bases, at least about a dozen of them, some of them rendered unusable, to the extent that Pakistan will now have to recalibrate any future escalation against India. But India also needs to win the narrative war. So it's now sending a group of parliamentarians, ruling party MPs, as well as opposition MPs to foreign